When Kelly Ripa casually dropped the bombshell on her morning show couch that her wedding to Mark Consuelos had cost just $174, the internet predictably gasped. In an age where influencers rent floral walls for $10,000 and diamond-encrusted vow renewals get live-streamed to millions, a wedding under $200 felt like a rebel yell. But for Kelly, it wasn't a flex. Not really. It was a wink at a moment that wasn't curated or sponsored or pre-approved by an Instagram aesthetic. It was real, raw, and spontaneous. And 30 years later, it still held. That's what made it worth bragging about. Let's rewind the VHS to 1996. Kelly was a rising star on All My Children, and Mark had just joined the show. They were fresh-faced, gorgeous, and barely out of their 20s. The sparks weren't subtle, co-stars talked, tabloids whispered, and viewers shipped them before shipping was even a term. But off-screen, their relationship wasn't some fairy tale dripping in grandeur. It was tacos at midnight, long phone calls between shoots, and stolen weekends without paparazzi. And one day, after a particularly emotional phone call, rumor has it they'd broken up the day before, Mark said, "Let's just do it. Let's get married. Like, tomorrow." Kelly said yes. There was no Pinterest board, no planner, no couture gown airlifted from Paris. There was just a couple in love, $174 in their shared bank account, and a city clerk's office open at 9 a.m. sharp. The way Kelly tells it, they wore whatever was clean. She bought a dress off the rack. Mark looked like he was headed to a job interview. They hopped in a cab, filled out some paperwork, and said, "I do," under buzzing fluorescent lights. There might have been a ficus plant in the corner. It might have been dying. The only witnesses were a couple from Queens and a city clerk with a coffee stain on his shirt. The ceremony took 10 minutes. Afterward, they had lunch at a diner. They split a slice of cheesecake. And that was it. No professional photos. No open bar. No white doves. Just $174. And forever. In the years that followed, their lives exploded into stardom. Morning shows, red carpets, sitcoms, Hollywood. They bought houses, raised kids, got matching family pajamas. They could have renewed the vows in Paris. Or on a yacht off the Amalfi Coast. Heck, they could have bought an island and renamed it, Marry Me Again. But they didn't. Because, as Kelly loves to remind people with that signature smirk, we peaked at $174. Everything else is just decoration. In a world obsessed with spectacle, Kelly and Mark's story is oddly radical. Today, the average wedding costs over $30,000. There are mood boards, themed hashtags, guest lists the size of congressional districts. We have drone footage of people's first dances. But here comes Kelly Ripa, breezing in like a vintage convertible on a summer day, reminding us that love doesn't have a price tag. It has a choice. And they chose each other. Without delay, without fanfare, without a seating chart. Now, 30 years in, they still flirt like teenagers. They poke fun at each other on air. They co-host a morning show, co-parent 3 kids, and coexist in a way that feels unusually grounded for celebrity couples. People always ask them the secret. Is it therapy? Communication? Luck? Kelly always laughs. Honestly, the secret might just be that we never had to pay off a wedding loan. There's truth in that joke. Because when you strip away the distractions, the pressures, the performance, what's left is just 2 people making a decision. And then making that decision again. And again. Every single day. Their $174 wedding wasn't cheap. It was priceless. It bought them 3 decades of inside jokes, burnt toast, shared Netflix passwords, arguments over thermostat settings, and the kind of intimacy that only comes from weathering real life together. It bought them the freedom to spend the money after the vows, on baby cribs, first homes, last-minute vacations, and school tuition. On life. And that's the part no one brags about on Instagram. In a world where we're often told love needs to be proven, by diamonds, by declarations, by dramatic gestures, Kelly and Mark remind us that maybe the best love stories are the ones that start with a courthouse and a diner booth. Not because they couldn't afford more, but because they knew they didn't need more. So the next time someone scoffs at a small wedding or measures a relationship's value by the size of the ring, remember Kelly Ripa. Remember the $174. And remember that the cost of a wedding doesn't determine the value of a marriage. Love isn't in the lace or the lobster tail. It's in the knowing glance at breakfast, the hand on the small of your back during a party, the familiar way you say, "Hey, babe," after a long day. It's in saying yes, even when you're scared. Especially when you're scared. And it's in believing that forever can begin in a government office with bad lighting, as long as you're standing next to the right person. $174. Almost 30 years. Zero regrets. Sounds like a bargain to me. Let me know if you'd like this adapted into a speech, blog post, or article.